You know, growing up, we had this thing about if somebody stepped to you, you handle it. If you don't want to be two street kings with it, you gonna let them talk to you like that? You gonna go with that? You gonna let him get away with that? You gonna let that nigga punk you like that? You gonna take that? Etc. That is the typical generalized black bank of responses or material you'll hear in a confrontation. It could even be during a harmless roast, right? Like we say here in the South, most of us are hard talkers. It means we talk shit. We say what we mean. But we're not a monolith, and that's true. What I'm getting a little irritated by, just a little bit, is this fascination with bullying and being scared. First of all, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that I'm not. Yo, Carmelo was 5'11". Has anyone else heard that? In the height world, that's virtually 6 feet, right? And then this comparison with somebody, who may be stocky or being a linebacker. But 5'11" and 6'1", even 6'2", are very comparable heights. You know? So I'm just wondering, this frail, oh, he was so scared, oh, he was scared, like, because on one side of the tracks, it usually comes down to fearlessness. You know what I'm saying? In every single coming of age or tale of the hero, you feel me? You see a David Goliath situation, right? Or even that formula, Craig and Debo. That's a perfect example. Not so much size did have a factor with that, but it was the aspect of this is the neighborhood bully. Craig was the person just minding their business trying to get through Friday. Small example, but very relevant science, if you think about it. For you other folks out there, look at George McFly in Back to the Future. His bully was Biff, right? Same correlation. And we know Craig used a brick. But the point is, Craig initially stood up to this person because he understood he was providing a disservice to the community. And the tipping point, the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were, was when Debo struck Neil Gone. It sent Craig over the edge, as it should have. Back to the Future, Biff was pretty much violating female, Marty's mother. George did his thing, right? At that moment. It was set up differently, but it's the same aspect. So what I'm getting back to is, when did we become so sensitive to this aspect of, oh, they were bullies? Man, most kids that go to school, if they're not getting directly bullied, they're in proximity to it. I'm not condoning bullying, but since when did we get so fragile with this? Well, they were bullies. What you think the source of all shoe jokes, all jokes on clothes, and we don't hold back when it comes to poverty or tumultuous circumstances at home or trauma. Matter of fact, some of us, press a little harder, right? The clothes jokes, the shoes jokes, I experienced this a lot when the way you speak. You know what I'm saying? Your articulation, your hobbies, the way you shoot a jump shot, the way you run, the way you dance, the way you do anything. It usually comes through a form of like negative judgment almost. Not every single time. I'm not gonna be that crass. But this whole idea of, oh, well, they were bullies and bullies and bullies. Most of our communities are full of bullies, old and young. And everybody knows this, but somehow it becomes a outcry for just absurd behavior when we keep hearing this word and we internalize it like we don't perpetuate the behavior of a bully, which is simply somebody who does not uh, want to let a person be themselves, or they want to dominate or control or intimidate an environment, and so they show behavior to do that. That's rampant, not only in the school aspect, but just the general black culture. You know what I'm saying? The only silver lining I'll provide with that is that our manual, our handbook, and this is tricky because not everybody knows their full ancestry regarding slavery, regarding Aboriginal people, regarding all kinds of distortions with history. Our manual, our handbook, our guide, our how-to was a carbon copy of our bullies. We think, it's some schoolyard shit all the time. Bullying is just a set of behaviors. So when you talk 400 years, you need to align that with extreme, damn near supernatural bullying. That's really what oppression is. But all of a sudden, when it comes to this figure in the news who none of us know personally, they don't know their family personally, something about the image and the setup, and I keep saying this word, formula, kind of invites you to want to be privy to everything going on with that. But I'd be willing to bet communities nationwide, you got tons of bullies, and nobody does anything about it. And bullying ranges from pointing and laughing at somebody's glasses to, like I said, the more personal stuff, clothes and shoes for, teenagers and stuff. That's generally the hot spot for, you know what I'm saying, the source of the jokes. Right? And then even more personal, the articulation, your interests. There's always that person who loves to read and they get ousted for that. Hell, when I was in 6th grade, I think the way they would roast me is call me scientific. But it was strange because we all played sports together, but they called me scientific. But see, that's where our lines can get blurred, because it's not to say every little thing somebody says to you is bullying. I'm not that sensitive. What I'm saying is, I keep hearing people use this word like it's not just rampant with our culture. You know what I'm saying? We bully each other on every single level, and I'm not just talking about physically or with words. Our behavior, the whole essence of I'm getting mine, means I'll do some shit to you so that you will not get yours. And if you get yours and it's not what I deem to be black enough or right or for us or what we would do and all of this general unspecified bullshit, then I'm going to make you feel bad. You ever been talking to a person and been sincerely putting them on game about something, and they like get this weird repulsive energy, and they start like trying to joke on you almost like a child would? You know what I mean? You say something to a kid and they know you're right, and they mimic your voice and that's their feedback system, which is still developing. That's their way of like deflecting what you're saying, because you are telling the truth, but they don't want to hear it. That's acceptable. Okay, I'm talking about people in their damn 50s that still carry on like that. That just pretend everything is it's fucked up, man. It's weird. But I just want to know what you guys think about the bullying aspect, because it's easy to say, oh, somebody was a bully and they were a bully and they were a bully. Well, people tell me I'm an a-hole all the time, but they say it's because my face has a certain countenance or I exude a certain energy of unapproachable, and a lot of brothers do. But the second half of that is usually, but once I got to know you, this and that. So I'm just a little perplexed with this whole. All of a sudden, we're so sensitive to people being bullied and people being scared and all this stuff when we kind of espouse that behavior 24/7.